Well,
I don't have words enough. I don't.
What the fuck?
we watched Crash by David Cronenberg.
It was rough, y'all.
Yep.
So yeah, we watched Crash by David Cronenberg. It stars James Spader, motherfucking Casey Jones, and I just said her name a minute ago. Deborah Carla Unger. Yes.
Teamwork.
Yeah. And these guys had never seen it before. I don't think they'd probably ever heard about it before I started talking about it.
I don't think there's a lot of people that have seen this movie.
That is a fair assessment. This is one of those, like, hardcore David Cronenberg fan or, like, hardcore cinephile films, especially because there's a film that came out a few years ago called Crash that when you say Crash, that's what everyone automatically associates with it.
It's not this.
No, it's not
okay.
anything like this.
Nothing's anything like this.
So yeah, I think it was like whenever we were watching Naked Lunch and a couple of the earlier Cronenberg films that I first mentioned this. Was this anything like what it seemed like I was describing?
When you first mentioned it and told us what it was about, like, it is basically what you said, but I didn't expect...
Oversimplifying.
I didn't expect what we got.
Yeah, I haven't watched a film like that before, so...
Ever.
Yeah, when we started the film, we had to start it off with a, basically I had to choose between the rated R and the NC-17, and I was like, well, why would we even bother with the rated R? And then I had to explain what the NC-17 was, which in fairness, like, again, unless you're like a real hardcore movie buff and like know how the industry works and the rating system is developed and stuff, like, most theaters don't carry NC-17 movies, so it's not that weird that you didn't know.
And the misconception, like me, if that came up, it's like, like the 17 version, it's probably a little softer than the rated R.
Yeah.
Fucking no.
No. For any of you watching who don't know, NC-17 is essentially a rated X for a movie that's released theatrically, but most theater chains won't carry it because of the stigma that comes with an NC-17, which is why, like, nowadays you'll see much more just unrated movies, which, again, not many cinemas will carry, but more will weirdly carry those than they will carry the NC-17. Because NC-17 basically means that, like, no one under 17, even with an adult, like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fitting for this one, y'all.
And for anyone who hasn't seen the film before, it is, as I said, directed by David Cronenberg, and it is about the relationship between sex and car crashes, or between car crash victims and, like, this weird, bizarre sexual energy that exists between them.
Allegedly.
In this universe, with these characters that we're experiencing, it's very real.
Yeah.
For them.
I was going to say for them.
We're not about to say that exists.
Yeah.
Alright.
It probably does.
But
it could,
but again, because, like, we don't see a lot of the outside world, and we see everything from the point of view of characters within that, like,
lifestyle.
subculture and lifestyle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, just general thoughts. What'd you guys think?
Oh, wow. Honestly, I'm overwhelmed. A lot of things happened. It's action-packed in the weirdest way. You can't look away. It's weird.
Action-packed?
A little.
Are technically some action scenes that happen?
Okay, action.
In terms of, like, car chases and, like, car crashes, like, those are part of the modern day vernacular of action movies.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
It's not John Wick.
No.
Action packs.
No, yeah. So, like, there's a lot of stuff like that going on, but yeah.
Oh, it's visceral, it's wild. Oh. I'm tired.
Oh, yeah, it's strange. I'm good. I'm good. There's some stuff happening. Although we did talk about it. It is engaging.
Yeah.
You're not gonna zone out because you're just gonna zone in. Like you're watching and you're like, why can't I turn away?
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, which brings us to a good point, which is like one of the ideas David Cronenberg had with this film was that especially all of the sex scenes or all of the interactions between the human characters, they were all designed structurally like a car crash, and they were shot in a way that was supposed to give you that same sensation of a car crash, where like even if you think what you're seeing is horrible or you hate it, like you can't look away.
Or you know the risk of what you're about to see, you still look.
Yeah. Do you think he achieved that in his execution of the film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's you really can't look away. It gets so weird, so awkward, you can't stop watching.
Which I feel brings us to an interesting place we've never been on here, which is like, you can look at the film and whether you like the film or not, like once you know what the goal of the film is, it's clear that the director very painstakingly put all the pieces in the works to make you have the experience that he wanted you to have, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So it's clearly a well-crafted film, even if it's not suited to your taste.
Yes,
Right.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because it's a lot.
So much.
It is a lot to deal with. I've watched this film with a few people, and y'all have reacted better than some of them. Some people just flat out, the moment I tell them something about it, they're like, no, I don't need to see that. And most people, spoilers here, guys, most people dip out in the scene where Casey Jones bangs James Spader in the butthole. That's usually where most people are like, I can't watch Ninja Turtles anymore. Fuck you. I'm done.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can see that.
And not far right before that, I was like, guys, I know I say this a lot, but like, I know it's been weird, but it's about to get really weird. Which, like, tattoo licking, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I know that this isn't necessarily y'all's kind of movie, but what's your favorite thing from the movie? If you can think of anything that you did like or anything that stood out to you as something that either you hadn't seen and it was interesting, or just in terms of like, that was good or well done.
The James Dean demonstration I thought was actually kind of cool.
Yes.
It's for what it was. It was very like a romanticized of James Dean and his,
for sure.
Absolutely.
That whole Porsche thing. And I like Porsches, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's also a good entryway not only for the character, but for us as the audience, like trying to understand the appeal of this world and the people. Right. Because they approach that in almost like a very docu-style on TV way of like, oh, well, this is the person, and like, they present it in that format.
Which kind of engages you in like, and then they actually do the stunt.
Right.
Which you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And then from there it escalates.
Yeah, and during the stunt there's a point they're like, there's no seatbelts, and I was like, oh my god, I realized what movie I'm in, and you're in for the long haul.
Yeah.
At that point.
It's a very good entry point into that, and I think it really sets up the idea also of like just kind of a car crash that you can't look away from. That idea appears so many times, both in text and subtext and just in visual metaphor. So as I said, my favorite thing is just the film itself and how it was crafted and all that kind of stuff. What was y'all's least favorite thing in the film?
Oh, I don't know. Nobody seems to grasp reality.
Oh, well,
that's fair.
It's I don't know. I didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, like it felt like 5 minutes of like the main actress rambling about male on male sex was pretty.
Yeah.
That seems actually 8 minutes long.
8 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
It felt pretty long.
Yeah.
And
again, I totally get that, especially because in that scene, she's using like the most analytical, like
she's breaking down every little like sensation that you could feel during a sexual act with another man. Like,
she's basically creating a narrative while her husband is banging her from behind about her husband and Vaughn, Casey Jones, of them getting together and banging. Which is like getting her off, but she's using words like anus and penis and like using them very analytically, and it is
science teacher.
Yeah, like a science teacher.
Just a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, like it's really a weird, unsettling scene, and I absolutely understand why someone would not like that scene. I think that scene is kind of hilarious and kind of awesome.
Yeah, you started laughing. I was like, well, I'm glad we can take this as a joke. Cause I do not want to like...
It's so hard to take it seriously, but I feel that like that kind of works because for the characters it's very serious.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's really absurd. And this whole movie has like a weird, bizarre sense of absurdity to it.
Yeah.
So for me, it works. But I get why anyone might not like that scene.
Yeah.
That
scene, you're like, God,
Oh,
that's enough.
Yeah. And it's also foreshadowing the scene that happens later on,
Right.
where
That
Casey
exactly.
Jones just totally rails him. Just
For real.
awesome.
He was ready for it, too.
I know, right?
Literally, like...
This movie takes a lot of twists and turns. If I was going to point out my least favorite thing in the movie, I would say that, like, in the latter half of the movie, as we start, like, losing our extraneous or, like, side characters, I get what the film's going for, and it's very well executed, the idea of our character slowly becoming a character like Vaughn and, like, seeing that transformation.
Yeah.
But it feels like the real story needs to come to a conclusion a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Having said that, this movie's not that long, and when you watch the theatrical cut or the rated R cut, that's not a problem at all. But of course, we watched the NC-17 cut, so at least the director knew that when he was dealing with this version of the film.
Yeah.
And I don't think they brought him back to do a reverse cut. I think they just took what had existed before and then, like, put that out.
Fixed it, yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say that's probably my biggest issue with the film, and beyond that, a lot of the issues I have with it are counteracted by the fact that I know that on some level it's meant as, like, an art film.
Yeah.
Which that argument could be made for it or against it. But anyway, like I was saying to her earlier, I love the fact that Cronenberg can kind of take B movie material, or like kind of smutty exploitation material, and imply a sense of like philosophy and sociology and artistry to it, and give you something that's more than that. So like if you're trash, like there's trash there, but there's also a grander meaning and like purpose behind all the trash.
Yeah.
It's not just there for the sake of itself. It all there's nothing extraneous. Everything serves a function.
Right.
Definitely new to my encyclopedia of movies. That's that's
man.
You know.
Yeah, and I'll also say this is probably like one of the most extreme examples of his work. But this movie doesn't do anything to take you by the hand, really. Like, they give you the James Dean scene in which you basically get, like, an intro into the world.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, like, the movie doesn't hold your hand. It's just like, fucking take it or leave it.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so we know how I feel, and you'll kind of tell us how do you feel. Would you recommend the film to other people? Because it seems like you both have your own feelings about it, but you also see what the film is trying to do, and you see the virtues in it.
Yes.
So that means that I am really interested to know what your recommendation would be.
Okay. You want to go first?
Sure. If you're a pussy, no, I'm just kidding. I mean, yeah, like, it's not for the faint of heart, but, I mean, if you've seen a lot of movies, and you've seen kind of fucked off movies, like, you know, or like a Rampage, you know, where you just see a guy murdering people for no reason.
Not the big
he didn't
animals rampage.
Oh, yeah, not that one.
No, the other one.
The other one. No, but, then, yeah, I mean, go for it. Why not? You know, broaden your horizons.
Right.
You know, I'm sure you've seen worse porns. But, no, that's not fair. But,
I don't know if I'd equate this with an Uwe Boll film, but I do see what you're saying.
No, yeah.
Don't crucify him for that.
Go easy,
no,
guy.
just, you know, it's not for the faint of heart, for sure.
That's very true.
Yeah, I would say basically, if you don't consider yourself a cinephile, someone who loves film and, like...
Okay, no, carry on.
Someone who likes film and, you know, like, older things maybe, or dark things, like he was saying, maybe not. But if you are, go for it. It's interesting. It's an art film. And it's trying to say things. But oh boy. Oh man.
Yeah. So yeah, as I said, those are both absolutely valid. I really love this film, but it is certainly not for everybody. As I said, there's plenty of people who've just flat out refused to watch the movie, or people I've watched the film with who have ducked out halfway through or a little bit further through, like just like, nope, I'm done. Can't do it anymore. It's over.
I'm
so
glad we made it all the way through.
Yeah, sure.
I'm happy y'all made it all the way through, because like I said, I like it, but what I would say is, like, if you dig fucked up cinema,
Yeah, okay.
you
Just
know,
going right into it.
yeah, like if you dig fucked up cinema, or if you're a big fan of David Cronenberg, then definitely check this film out. But yeah, it's got lots of like graphic, like wounds, not so much violence, but like graphic like injuries due to car crashes. It's got a lot of graphic imagery.
The leg with I forgot what those things are called.
Like all the pins, keeping the stuff, it's got all the pins and rods, and it's like back in the day whenever it was just like a big thing that was on you. Like it's pretty graphic in that way. It's also highly sexual in like terms of being graphic with the sexuality. Even though like I still maintain that all of the nudity and stuff in the film is done with purpose, but that doesn't take away from how jarring it can be if you're not used to seeing that in a film. And also like the sex acts depicted sometimes are things that will not work for some people, you know.
For sure.
So as they said, not for the faint of heart, but if you can deal with all that, and it sounds like your kind of thing, I do highly recommend it because there's a lot of care and a lot of effort put into the film by everyone, by the actors and by the director and by the crew. It's a very well-crafted film, and I think like all really well-crafted films, it's probably not for everybody.
No. Not for everybody.
Yeah,
no. Like Titanic's a well-crafted film. That's not for everybody either.
Yeah.
But this is on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's two different spectrums there, sir.
Absolutely. Right on, guys. So yeah, that was our thoughts on Crash. They didn't have a lot to say about it. If you want to hear more about like what I think about like the art of the film, let me know.
Hard art.
Yeah. And I can do another video on that. But as for tonight, we're going to be saying goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Later.
Nerd Scum, out. Casey Jones fucks him in the ass. How can you... That's awesome, man!
Oh.
Right in the ass.
Do you even know what penis tastes like?
Right?
Oh my God.
As I said earlier,
Have you ever tasted semen?
I love the idea that...
God!
This is why we don't see Casey Jones in Ninja Turtles 2. Like, he's off doing this, and when he comes back... Like, him and April aren't together. They're not even... It doesn't seem like they're even speaking. Well, yeah.
No wonder.
That film gets released, and the director and everybody's sitting there, and it gets to that scene, and he's like, he's a good actor, and then it's like, have you tasted semen?